This is Sharon. And Sharon got her real estate license a few years ago and started to have some early success. When Sharon got started into the industry, she worked her circle of influence and she had great success. She found a number of her friends and family and their friends and their families all wanted to use her for her real estate services. And that's fantastic. That's exactly what we all dream of. Well, Sharon wanted to continue to grow, so she recruited some of her friends and they started a real estate team. She was the team leader and the Sharon real estate team continued to have fantastic success. Eventually though, Sharon decided it would be best to take her and her team to a different brokerage. So she transferred to a different brokerage that she thought could better serve her team. Now, when Sharon first started her real estate team, she registered with the Real Estate Commission and she was in compliance. Everything was good. But when Sharon transferred to her new brokerage and took her team with her, she made a little mistake. She forgot to re-register her team and the Real Estate Commission found her in violation, which cost her a few hundred extra dollars as well as a few hundred extra dollars for her broker who was also found in violation. This might be a bit of a surprise to you, but the reality is at the last Real Estate Commission meeting, there were 5 different violations found on 5 different cases for being in violation of the team registration rules. The Real Estate Commission has had team registration in place for a few years, but we're still seeing continued problems with people not quite complying right. So I'm gonna give you 3 quick tips to keep your team in compliance, or if you're a broker, to keep the teams under you in compliance. Rule number 1, make sure your team is registered. This is really easy. You can do it online and it costs $100. So if you have a real estate team, make sure that it's registered if that's how you're operating. Rule number 2, if your team moves from one broker to another, make sure you re-register that team name. Otherwise, you're in violation of the real estate code. I've seen a lot of posts on social media and advertising of teams moving brokerages lately, and I suspect a number of those teams haven't re-registered. I've talked to a handful of brokers and most of them weren't aware that you had to re-register that team name. So make sure you check with all of your teams to be sure that if they've come into the brokerage or if you're a part of a team that's transferred, are you registered under the new brokerage? Rule number 3 is a little bit of a bonus rule for you. The Real Estate Commission is changing the team registration requirements to require the word group or team in the team name. So if you're re-registering or registering a new name, go ahead and have team or group in that name. Registering a team only costs $100 and it's only gonna cost you $100 to re-register it. Like I said, there were 5 different team registration violations at the last Real Estate Commission meeting. And unfortunately, that cost people around $350 to up to $700 for not having a correct team registration. And on top of that, it can cost the broker as well. So you may get a couple of violations and fines if that happens. And I want you to avoid that because teamwork makes the dream work. So keep your team in compliance with the Real Estate Commission to be sure that your team is registered correctly. I want to take a quick second and talk to the brokers in the room. We are in the process of planning for a broker experience. This is going to be a 2-day event capped at only 12 seats. Now we are planning on getting this registered as a broker in charge qualifying course. It's going to be a more premium experience and we want you to be there. But you got to head on over to rpro.academy and get signed up for our email list to know when registration is open. That's going to be happening in the coming days. So make sure you're signed up for our email list so you can be first in line to get one of those limited seats.